Did your school do away with warm winter hats for fear of violence? Did you use up all of your hall passes in the first week only to be without a P pass for a whole year? Did every school ban hugging because they thought it would lead to some X-rated interaction? Here are the 10 school rules we can't believe were a thing. Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified about our new videos. Back in the day, high schools cared about just two things. 1, educating young minds, and 2, trying to make your bladders explode. The only thing to protect a teenager from peeing his or her pants Billy Madison style was a 3x5-inch piece of plastic known as a hall pass. At some schools, students were forced to carry a planner that contained just 10 hall passes for the entire school year. But what happens if you run out of hall passes, or even worse, leave the planner in your locker? Turns out you were piss out of luck, especially after downing that 18-ounce big gulp. Luckily for the youthful bladders of today, most schools no longer use hall passes, so kids can now rest easy and worry about the important stuff, like how fast the school's Wi-Fi is and which filter to use on the gram. Nowadays, everyone knows that bullies are the bad guys, but years ago, some schools decided that everyone was a bully. Schools all around the country had a rule that anyone involved in a fight would be punished. It was referred to as the zero tolerance rule. The first rule of School Fight Club is that everyone gets in trouble. It didn't matter if you were the fist or the face receiving the fist. Everybody involved got suspended. It seems like the schools were basically just a really lazy police department that didn't care who was right and who was wrong and just ended up arresting everybody at the scene. Today, schools don't just suspend bullies. Instead, they teach students about kindness and empathy. They try to identify gateway behaviors such as name-calling and then have discussions with the bully to prevent it from getting worse. It all sounds very compassionate and we are here for it. Brr! It's cold in here. There must be some toros in the atmosphere. Either that or you went to school in rural Wisconsin. A school in Wisconsin banned students from wearing winter clothes like hats, gloves, and jackets in class because they were considered gang symbols. There are so many problems with this rule, it's hard to know where to start. First, it gets freaking cold in Wisconsin. So when the temperature drops below 0, kids weren't allowed to wear anything to keep them warm besides sweaters.
I'm in danger!
Who made this rule? J. Crew? Are they trying to sell more cable knits? Apparently, the color of the hat or the way someone wore a hat indicated the gangs they were in, and it created more gang violence. Who knew a cute beanie could cause so much damage? One middle school was clearly not a fan of shooping as they banned salt and pepper. No, not the all-women legendary hip-hop band. Actual salt and pepper. The school cafeteria thought using salt and pepper was unhealthy, yet they still sold Mountain Dew in their vending machines, go figure. At least you know the ingredients of salt and pepper. It's salt and pepper. Pretty sure that Mountain Dew is made up of some kind of rocket fuel, but I digress. Come to think of it, banning salt and pepper might make sense because any food without it is bland and uninspiring, just like those middle school years. A hug is Earth's universal sign of affection, a real-life feel better to our fellow Homo sapiens. And while it's understandable in a post-COVID world that a school might be in favor of social distancing, what the hell was one middle school thinking when they banned hugging? In North Carolina, an 8th grader suffered a seizure and took time away from school. When he arrived, a group of kids all hugged him at the same time. The school told students to tone down the affection. The students rebelled and had a hug as many people as you can protest. The school did not take nicely to this protest and said further hugging would result in suspension. Sounds like that principal needs a good long hug. The school then banned high fives as well, and soon after that, breathing. Now the school is on Mars and all the students have to wear spacesuits. Maybe we made the last part up, but we think it's safe to say that if banning school hugs are wrong, then we don't ever want to be right.
What time is it?
Well, apparently, not time to get a watch, as a junior high schooler actually decided to prohibit students from wearing watches. Now, just to be clear, we're not talking Apple, James Bond type watches that can help you cheat on tests or text your BFF 24/7. Rather, we're just talking about old-fashioned Timex style watches. WTF, right? We suppose the school could have just wanted its students to think they were living in a casino where you can't figure out if it's 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. But seriously, besides chafing your wrist breakfast while you look cool AF while showing your friends the minute and second hands? What harm could a watch do? Who throws a watch? Honestly. The best part is that the school never gave an actual reason as to why they were banning watches. Just sounds like the anti-watch lobby was really strong back then. That's all we're saying. We've all heard of the 5-second rule. You know, when you drop your Twinkie on the floor, you can still eat it as long as you pick it up within 5 seconds. But have you ever heard of the 5-minute rule? One high school decided that everything bad at the school always happened during the last 5 minutes of lunch. So what did these geniuses decide to do? You guessed it. They shortened lunch by 5 minutes. What the entire school board failed to realize was that unless your lunches are only 4 minutes long, there will always be a last 5 minutes of lunch.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
It was hip to be square, but bad to be part of a circle of trust for one school. Believe it or not, a school banned 8th graders from standing in circles. You heard that right, circles. Apparently, teachers feared that scandalous activity may occur when groups of students stood in circles. Staying with our theme of illogical rules, the teachers allowed the students to stand in squares. There must be something about right angles that calms the 8th graders' nervous system. What about diamond shapes? Are those allowed? They are a girl's best friend, and they're forever. Let's hope someone was carrying around a protractor to figure all of this out. This rule is pretty much our nightmare of a junior high trigonometry class coming to life. No way we'll be able to sleep tonight. This bizarre rule was reiterated by one high school every day over the morning announcements that shoes are to be worn as the manufacturer intended. Apparently, students were somehow not wearing shoes properly. If your students don't know how to properly put on a shoe, then we think you need to reevaluate the school's curriculum rather than coming up with a nonsensical rule. If all of the students at the school were wearing shoes on their hands or only using shoes as pretend cell phones, then the problem here isn't a rule but something much more fundamental. We present to you the tale of school versus whiteout. Remember whiteout? You'd use it to fix a misspelled word, or kids would paint over their nails with it and it would look so cool. One school banned it from ever appearing on school grounds again after one messy incident. A student was chewing on a whiteout pen and the pen promptly exploded in her mouth. Luckily, after a hospital visit and chest x-rays, she was A-okay. Just a good reminder to maybe chew on gum, not toxic white paste. Looks like kids would have to get manicures elsewhere. School's out for summer as we've reached the end of our top 10 list. Did you have any weird school rules that you want to share? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to check back here to find out what else needs to be ranked.